Hello everyone, Dave here with Affordable Door and Gate. I hope you are doing great. So, I always preach to you guys about buying these garage door openers because most garage door openers, they're all going to be trash, right? They're all being junk. They're just, you're always trying to find the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry basket. So anyways, there's this guy I wanted to go through and touch base. I thought he had some really good information. Thank you. A big shout out to Rich B too for bringing this to my attention because I did hear it in the blip and I checked my local Lowe's at one time. It wasn't a problem, but it might be changing. So it might be something you want to ask. You might want to investigate because they are possibly changing things up. So stay tuned, watch the rest of this video, and we'll talk about it maybe a little bit at the end. This guy right here, this is DIY with Dave. Good name, by the way. And if you can't read it, it says huge changes are leaving customers furious. What's really going on at the Home Depot and Lowe's? It might be something you want to watch the full video. I'm going to try to condense it for you. So let's get started.
At one, the other will soon follow. That's just the nature of competition. You don't want to get left behind and have all of your customers shop at the other guy because he has better prices. It extends beyond just prices, though, to other things like policies. And both Lowe's and the Home Depot have come up with a doozy. In fact, let me show you their website so you can see what I'm talking about. This is Lowe's website, and it looks pretty standard. You've got a return policy for 30, 90, and 365 days. But then you've also got this, just 48 hours for things like major appliances, paint sprayers, generators, and other large and expensive items. Then you've
So this is kind of what I'm talking about. You might have got, I always thought it was like maybe 30, 60, but maybe it had 90 days, right? Return policy was, let's say, these garage door openers. So this might be changing. These places are catching on, right? They don't want to deal with your garbage anymore. So you might only have 48 hours. So it might be something to consider. I'm not saying yes or no, but sometimes when you're at that register, maybe they give you an extended warranty. Maybe that's how we combat this a little bit too. Maybe they give you, hey, we'll give you a 30 days or 60 or a 1 year warranty type thing, and I don't know how good they're going to honor that. But like I said, it might be something worth it for an extra $20, just something to think about.
Things that are not working, and to have to return them within 48 hours is kind of ridiculous to me. But here's the thing about returns. Businesses hate returns, but as a retail business, customers expect it. They need to have the ability to bring something back if it doesn't work or they don't like it, and they're less likely to shop at your store if they're unable to do that. And so that is, again, one of the areas where stores compete, those policies. And so it makes sense for both of them to make this change at the same time. Like I said, it's
a thing to remember too, right? So, unfortunately, that's the world we live in, right? And this is another reason why you should always consider supporting your local mom and pop shop, maybe a small appliance place and that, because these places are all interlocked. So they're all doing the same thing at the same time. It's almost like they're owned by the same corporation in a sense. They change their prices at the same time. The lumber's the same prices, kind of what he's explaining in this video. It's a good video. Like I said, you might want to jump on it and watch the whole thing. So he had some good information on here.
Benefit consumers and increase prices. And here's another interesting thing. It's not just Lowe's and the Home Depot, but also Walmart. Walmart changed their return policy earlier this year on major appliances to 48 hours as well. So perhaps Lowe's and the Home Depot aren't following each other, but they're really just both following Walmart's lead. So
all together, baby.
What is going on here, and why would they all do this at the same time? Well, here's the thing about returns. Returns are expensive. They're expensive for all retailers. The National Retail Federation estimates that in
maybe like when you don't give back the keypad or the remotes, right? Human operation, very expensive.
2024, there were a total of $890 billion in returns. And these returns pay retailers nothing. In fact, they cost them a lot of money, both in the lost revenue, but also in the reverse logistics that it takes to get that product back into the pipeline so that it can be sold again. Sometimes items are damaged and they can't be resold, and that's a large expense for a lot of these retailers. But I have a question here for you. Does a company's return policy actually impact the way that you shop? For example, Costco's return policy on major appliances is 90 days.
He talks about Costco, right? Papa Tony talks about it, right? There's a new Costco being built in Muskegon. Maybe it's Costco, baby. I heard they got cheap insurance too, car insurance. So you guys let me know.
And honestly, they may even take it after that. They've got a pretty generous return policy. So would you prefer?
Pretty generous. So that's pretty nice. He does talk about too, in this clip about how Amazon has kind of figured this out, and typically Amazon just lets you keep the product. They found it's cheaper that way than to haul it and bring it back and returns and process it. And we also know, you've seen those places, right? They have the skids that they, return stuff, and people buy the big skids for $300 or $600, whatever they are. If you got any information on that kind of stuff, put it in the comments below. If you got a friend or somebody that does it, what they pay for the skids, they do pretty good. Anything like that, it'd be kind of fun to see what the comments come up with.
Are also getting creative with their returns. Amazon, for example, has done all of the calculations, and they've determined that for some of the items that they sell, it's actually cheaper to let the consumer actually keep it after getting a refund rather than going through the expense to have it shipped back, inspected, and potentially resold.
So with that being said, that makes me just wonder. Look, I'm not proud to say that our family is an Amazon shopper. You know what I mean? But it is so convenient, right? Than to go out and wait in line and deal with the headaches and flat tires and, the parking lot and the dings in the car and all that kind of stuff. It is so convenient. And honestly, we've had a few things that have been stolen from the packages, and Amazon, my hat's off to them. Just boom, instantly. We're talking big ticket items, $100 to $300 items that just somebody obviously knew what was in there. They honor it. You know what I mean? So maybe this is going to be a benefit for Amazon too down the road. Maybe because they've got a better return policy, or it turns into more or less they're such a powerhouse that they're just going to let you keep the product. I don't know. So maybe Amazon, this will be a win for them, because these retailers, it's getting tough. Literally had to go get a battery today for a vehicle. The lady there was complaining, right? She was somewhat friendly, but she was complaining. So, everybody called in supposedly. She was the only female running the store. She's been there for 4 hours already. Somebody's supposed to come within another hour to at least be a backup. But I'm just like, wow, you know what I mean? And this is, I think it was an O'Reilly's. So just stuff to think about. If retail's just, it's struggling, man.
Isn't true for retailers for trying to control the issue. But there's one more wrinkle to think about here. As a consumer, you're out of luck entirely if you can't return an item to the store. The appliances that they're selling are generally covered by a manufacturer's warranty, but after 48 hours, you'd have to actually go through the hassle with the manufacturer to get any kind of service instead of going back to the Lowe's or Home Depot where you bought the appliance. And I think that's really the kicker here. Lowe's and Home Depot have decided that the appliances that they're selling essentially are not good enough to return, or that
we're buying junk, people. Everything is really just turning into junk. It's a shame, because I can only imagine trying to go back to the manufacturer and trying to deal with somebody from another country that can barely speak English. You know what I mean? So this is why you gotta really kind of pay attention. You gotta play your cards. And so I just want you to be aware of this. And even if you are just buying just regular appliances and stuff too, it's another thing to have in the tool bag just to think about. You got to always remember, they want you to keep consuming, right? That's how they make money. If they make light bulbs that last forever, they'd only sell it to you once and never have to sell it to you again. It'd be going through your generation, your family, and your grandchildren's, you know what I mean? So things to think about.
Today are not as good as they used to be. In fact, I pulled this picture from the Family Handyman website showing the average lifespan of common appliances. On the low end, you've got microwaves that only last, 6 years on average. Then you've got a washer that could even be less, a dishwasher that lasts around 7 years, refrigerators that only last around 7 years, on up to water heaters that only last 15.
That's ridiculous. This is where this gets me a little bit. I might put my tinfoil hat on. We want to sit here and tell everybody how we want to save the planet and all this. Then build some damn quality stuff. Quit building crap that we keep putting into the landfill, into our water system. Build stuff that lasts. Sorry, tinfoil hat off.
Purchase replacements. The purpose of the strategy is to increase sales by creating a cycle of consumption where consumers have to buy products more frequently. And the worst thing about it is that it works. If you come through history, you can find instances where companies made such good products that they put themselves out of business. A classic example of that is a company called Diamond T Trucking, or the Diamond T Trucking Company. Their trucks were really expensive at the time, but they lasted forever. And when someone could afford to buy one, they bought it and they never had to buy another one. There are other examples.
That's the problem. if it lasts, they can't get you to buy another one. So something to think about. That's why sometimes I really think the older stuff is sometimes the better stuff. The older vehicles, you can at least work on them. You know, the older operators, things like that, because they're just keep speeding this stuff up. I mean, we don't have the old yellow fridges like I did when I was a kid, right? In my grandma's house, that you just got rid of it because it was ugly, right? But it worked, and it would have worked, and it still would be working if you still had it and didn't get rid of it because it was built like a tank
of these big companies. But what does all of that have to do with these new policies from Lowe's and the Home Depot? Well, I think that the problem with many appliances today is that they're just not as good and durable as they used to be. And that's a huge driver for why Lowe's and the Home Depot and Walmart may be limiting returns on those items. It's just costing them too much. At the end of the day, my suggestion is to skip them altogether. I personally would be more inclined to buy an expensive product from a company that's not going to leave me in a lurch when the product that they sold me does not meet my expectations.
And there you go. Check this guy out. He's a good dude if you want to watch the whole video. I got little bits and pieces, I think, of the good stuff, but I at least wanted to bring it to your attention, especially if you're going to buy garage door openers and stuff from the box stores. Like I said, I'm not saying ultimately no, but just be aware of it. You know what I mean? They still might be the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry basket, because across the board, I don't care what it is, they're all just going downhill. You know what I mean? They're trying to make them cheaper. The bean counters are involved, and they are just trying to keep them as cheap and not reliable anymore, and they don't last as long. So I'm just looking out for you guys for whatever's going to be the easiest if you're just starting out, or even if you're a seasoned vet, because time is money. So I want you to make that baby money. Remember, keep your fingers. Take care. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll bye-bye for now.